everybody, and welcome back for another Paper Tray Ink Make It Monday video. This is Betsy Veldman, and today I'm here to show you a technique for making artsy watercolor backgrounds using just your stamps and regular dye inks. Alright, so I'm starting off with a panel of watercolor cardstock. This is a nice heavy 140-pound cardstock. I like the heavier weight. It helps a little bit with the warping because we're going to get our paper pretty wet today. And then I'm going to be using dye inks. These are just the normal paper tray ink dye inks. And then I have a scrap of acetate, which I'm going to be using for a technique a little further down the road in this video, and also a water brush. Alright, so I'm going to start off with, I have a leaf stamp here on my block. This is from Meadow Greens. And I'm going to take some Hawaiian Shores ink, and I'm going to start stamping several of these leaf images on the background of my watercolor cardstock. And put another one right up there. And then I'm going to take some Berry Sorbet ink. And just continue building a background here. And the watercolor paper is textured, so you're going to see a little bit of that texture coming through, and that's okay, that's fine. That actually adds, I think, a little bit to the texture and the dimension of the finished effect. And finally, I'm going to take some Harvest Gold ink, and you can even take 2 shades of ink if you want to add even a little bit more depth. Here I'm going to take Summer Sunrise ink and just kind of blot that around on the edges of that Harvest Gold. And one more here. Put this little guy right over here. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the way my background is looking right now. So then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take a water brush, and I'm going to get the water flow going on that a little bit here. There, you can see I squeezed out a drop, got that going. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just take the water brush and I'm going to go around the edges of the stamping to kind of pull that ink out into the background. You can see on there how I'm just pulling that right around the edges using the wet water brush to pull that ink. And if you want to move on to another color and you don't want to have that, like here I didn't want the Hawaiian Shores, you can just brush a little bit on some scrap paper and then just keep going. And I'm going to keep going and doing this, and you can see you can pull it out as far as you want. I'm going to pull this out so that it will blend. You can see I pulled that pink pretty far down. I'm going to pull this blue out to kind of blend with it. It creates a very artsy kind of watercolor effect, but you don't have to be an artist to get that effect. can let the stamps do the work for you. And as it dries, it takes on a little bit different look too. So it's kind of the fun part about this technique. Every card that you do will be unique. No two will turn out exactly the same. And this blue here on this Hawaiian Shores, on this leaf here, I'm going to pull that kind of way down and fill in this empty space here. And move on to my yellow leaf over here. Kind of blend those two where the yellow and the blue are going to kind of meet here. Just blend those two together. And then finally, my berry sorbet leaf down here at the bottom. I'm going to kind of pull that pink ink up to blend in with the blue and the yellow that I pulled down from the top. See here where the two meet, I'm going to kind of use my water brush to blend those two together, the blue and the pink. And this pink from here, from this leaf, I'm going to pull it kind of all the way out to the edge of my paper so that my entire background will have some sort of shading. Okay, so I've gone over all of my stamped images with the water brush, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some splatters. And I'm going to take, this is my scrap of acetate, and I'm going to take my berry sorbet ink pad and just blot that onto the acetate. And I'm going to do the same thing with Hawaiian Shores. This kind of just creates a palette of ink that I can work with. Then I'm going to take my water brush and I'm going to actually just force a drop or two of water out of the brush onto that ink. And then just swirl my brush in there to pick up some of the ink and the water. And then I'll go over here and I'm just going to kind of tap and create a splatter effect. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same with a little bit of the berry sorbet ink. And if you want some larger drops, you can also pick up some of that ink and water and get your brush pretty full of color there. And then you can actually just go over and then force a larger drop or two out of your water brush. Okay. And if you want to get really artsy and you want those to kind of run and bleed down the page, before it dries, you can stand it up on end. Just give it a tap or two. And you can see how my drips are kind of starting to run now. Okay, and then you can set it aside and let it dry. If you're like me and you're a little impatient, you can use a heat gun to speed that up, which I'm going to do right now, and as soon as it's dry I will be back and we will finish off the card. Okay, so I'm back and my watercolor paper is completely dry, so I can go ahead and finish off my card. I have a sentiment here. This is from the wet paint, the first wet paint set, and I'm going to stamp that with Berry Sorbet ink. I'm going to position it just kind of right here in that open area. Let's see if I got that inked up really well. Okay, and then that says enjoy, and then I have the rest of the sentiment here. It says your day, which I'm going to stamp with some smoky shadow ink. Kind of layering it over the top here. Okay, and then I have a few die cuts that I'm going to embellish the top of my card with. And actually, I have a piece of washi tape that I'm going to put across the top just for a little bit of something fun along the top edge there. And then I have some leaves, which were die cut with using the coordinating dies with the meadow green set. And I also have a scribbled circles die cut, which I'm going to adhere all of those kind of to the upper left corner there. If I can get my glue going. That kind of right there. And then I'm just going to adhere the leaves kind of just the top and leave the bottoms free so I can just kind of pop them up a little bit. Like so. And I have a bow made out of some cotton twine here too. And we'll just go ahead and add that also. Thanks for joining me, everybody. This has been Betsy Veldman for Paper Tray Ink, and I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial on creating artsy backgrounds using your stamps and regular dye inks. Have a great week, everybody.